Hi, ArcfieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Tuesday morning, March 29th. A lot to talk about this morning. We still have unusually cold weather in the northeastern part of the nation, and there is another round of severe weather to talk about over the next few days in much of the same area that was hit last week with the severe weather, namely the deep south up to the Tennessee Valley, and there certainly are signs for additional cold air outbreaks into the northeastern part of the country all the way into the middle part of April. And really these events kind of go hand in hand with the cold air outbreaks and the severe weather outbreaks. You really need that clash of air masses with colder air to the north and west and warm humid air to the south and east to generate some of these severe weather outbreaks. And indeed, it looks like we have an active weather pattern going on for at least the next couple of weeks. Let's start off by looking at the severe weather probabilities as depicted here by NOAA's Storm Prediction Center. We'll look at today, tomorrow, and then the next day, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. For today, looks like the best chance will come right in the middle of the country right here. And again, we have colder air moving in from the west, clashing with increasingly humid and warm air to the south and east. We have a strong flow of air we'll see in a moment here coming out ahead of a strong cold front from the Gulf of Mexico into the deep south over the next day or two. Now, by tomorrow, the threat really increases in much the same area again that was hit hard last week. You remember, first we had a tornado outbreak in central and eastern Texas, and then the next day it went to Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and that's much the same area that will be under the gun on Wednesday, and especially tomorrow night in places like Alabama, Mississippi, all the way into Tennessee, a moderate threat for severe weather, and that extends all the way northward across the Tennessee Valley into the Ohio Valley. By the time we get to Thursday, that threat kind of slides to the eastern seaboard. That strong cold front will be arriving in the eastern states later in the day on Thursday, and certainly could have some strong thunderstorms along the I-95 corridor region, maybe even some severe weather as well in the eastern states. But probably the biggest threat will be on Wednesday, and especially Wednesday night across the deep south, places like Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, up to the Tennessee and Ohio valleys. Well, let's kind of walk through the 0Z run of the operational version of the GFS, and we'll look at some of the factors involved with the severe weather potential over the next few days. First of all, remains very cold for this time of the year. By the way, New York City yesterday, I saw the high temperature at Central Park was 33 degrees, and I believe that matches, if not breaks, the lowest maximum temperature ever recorded for the date in New York City records, which go back well over 100 years, I think about 129 years. So again, one of the coldest March 28th on record for much of the Mid-Atlantic region and the northeastern U.S. Unfortunately, it resulted in some very active snow squall activity. We talked about in yesterday morning's video how unstable the atmosphere would become with the low-level heating from the increasingly warm sun combined with the cold conditions aloft. There were some snow squalls upstate Pennsylvania that unfortunately resulted in a massive pileups in Schuylkill County, Pennsylvania. More than 50 cars and trucks crashed, piled up, and as many as 3 people were killed. Snow squalls are very, very difficult to forecast and very difficult to drive, and of course you have not only the very slippery roads, but you have almost zero visibility in many cases, whiteout conditions, and again it led to a horrific crash in Schuylkill County on Route 81 yesterday. For today, not nearly as active in terms of snow shower activity in the northeastern part of the nation. And here comes a very impressive area of upper level energy of vorticity maxima entering the southwestern states early today, and that will slide to the east, and it causes some severe weather later today across the heartland. This is going now into early tomorrow, but later today into tonight there can be some strong to severe thunderstorms right across the central plains, and then on Wednesday continues to slide to the east, and really the threat zone on Wednesday will be this region right in here, and really that can extend up into the Ohio Valley. Wednesday night, for example, Huntsville, Alabama, probably the best time period for the showers and thunderstorms will be tomorrow evening, and there certainly can be some damaging wind gusts in much of this area on Wednesday and Wednesday night. And winds will be quite strong, well ahead of the front. All day tomorrow, for example, across Alabama, you could expect sustained winds of maybe 35, 40 miles per hour and gusts up to 50 plus miles per hour ahead of the frontal system, and then have to watch out for those potential severe thunderstorms. This is tomorrow night, and then a lot of that slides into the eastern states. This is now the Thursday morning forecast map, and a pretty healthy looking upper level wave of energy by midday on Thursday over the Great Lakes. Now, there will be a dramatic warm up on Thursday in the mid-Atlantic region, probably reaching 75 degrees in D.C., maybe 70 in Philly and New York City. Exactly how warm it gets will kind of dictate the chances for severe weather, but certainly strong thunderstorms are on the table along the eastern seaboard later Thursday into Thursday evening, maybe potentially severe weather, depending on how much of a surge of warm air develops later Thursday into Thursday night. I just wanted to go through a couple of sets of charts here showing multiple jet streaks that will play a role in this severe weather potential, not only today but especially tomorrow night into the day on Thursday. Damaging wind gusts is probably the greatest risk during this severe weather outbreak, as opposed to widespread tornadoes or anything like that. Damaging wind gusts, and partly as a result of very strong jet streaks, both higher levels of the atmosphere and lower levels of the atmosphere. This is the 0Z model run for 250 millibars. This is showing jet streaks way up in the atmosphere as we begin the day on Tuesday. But watch what happens as we move forward. Here we go, a very strong jet streak aloft by later tonight into the day on Wednesday, sliding into the deep south. And again, this is the area that will be under the gun on Wednesday, and especially Wednesday night. The place from Louisiana to Alabama, Georgia, up across Tennessee, Arkansas, maybe even into the Ohio Valley. Again, with a very impressive jet streak, not only across the Midwest, but across the deep south. And that moves on into the eastern states and actually intensifies some as it reaches the eastern seaboard late Thursday night. So again, the severe weather threat, not only today in the Central Plains, but tomorrow in the Deep South, Tennessee Valley, Ohio Valley, and then by Thursday night, it shifts, as does this 250 millibar jet streak, to the eastern seaboard later in the day on Thursday. In addition to those strong winds in the high part of the atmosphere, we're looking now at the 850 millibar level, and the winds at a few thousand feet off the ground. And here we go by tomorrow morning. Very strong low-level jet by tomorrow morning, and this will be not only causing an instability in the atmosphere, but look at the flow of air here, right out of the Gulf of Mexico. A broad southerly flow of air bringing increasingly humid, very warm air out ahead of a cold frontal system, and there will be cold air sliding in from the north and west. So you have a clash of air masses with that classic setup. Cold air to the north and west, cold dry air to the north and west, warm humid air to the south and east, and a low-level jet that will certainly play a role tomorrow and tomorrow night in the severe weather zone from the deep south to the Ohio Valley. Then we look at the intensification by tomorrow evening. This is dramatic. I mean, this is an impressive low-level jet, and again, I'm concern for damaging wind gusts throughout much of this region later tomorrow into tomorrow night, partly as a result of this very strong low-level jet here depicted by the 0Z run of the GFS. By the time we get into tomorrow night and then Thursday, a lot of those strong winds slide to the eastern seaboard, and again, the possibility of some strong maybe even some severe thunderstorms on Thursday and Thursday evening along the I-95 corridor region and all the way to coastal sections, and then that slides off the eastern seaboard by Thursday night, paving the way for a windy, cooler day in the northeastern quadrant of the nation for Friday. Well, let's wrap up with the surface forecast maps from the 0Z run of the GFS. Cold, still brisk. Winds gusting up to 25-30 miles per hour today in the mid-Atlantic, northeast U.S. Still way below normal temperatures. Probably highs, maybe the lower 40s for an example in Philadelphia. Normal high 55, 56 degrees right now, so some 15 degrees still below normal. And we had way below freezing temperatures in the overnight hours throughout the I-95 corridor region. And here we go, the development later today of strong southerly flow of air across the middle part of the nation. And you have colder air starting to sweep in across the Rockies, and warm, increasingly humid air pumping up across the central plains, and hence a clash of air masses later today and tonight. And there could be some strong to severe thunderstorms across the central plains later today and especially tonight right here, associated with that front moving in from west to east. Cold on the in the cold side of that storm, with snow across some of the Dakotas and the Rocky Mountain states. And again, look at this fetch of air ahead of the cold front right out of the Gulf of Mexico, pumping in that warm and humid air all the way up into the Ohio Valley by later on tonight. And let's move ahead now to Wednesday. And here is the real active day of concern right here. Again, tight isobars. Winds will be the big factor on Wednesday and Wednesday night throughout the Ohio Valley, Tennessee Valley, the Deep South. Again, sustained winds high and possible gusts of 40, 50, 60 miles per hour ahead of the incoming cold frontal system. A band of strong to severe showers and thunderstorms by tomorrow night. Again, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Arkansas, all the way up into the Ohio Valley. Colder air pouring in on the western side, and this warm and humid air out ahead of that frontal system, all contributing factors along with those multiple jet streaks and the vorticity maximum that we saw earlier. Then we go into the day on Thursday, this is Thursday morning forecast map. Now notice here, the strong southerly flow of air along the eastern seaboard. Again, dramatic one-day warm-up in places like Philadelphia, New York City, D.C. Probably highs on Wednesday in Philly and New York City will hold in the 40s and then approach 70 degrees or perhaps even surpass 70 degrees on Thursday as a much warmer air pushes in from the south and west to the north and east. And here comes the incoming cold frontal system, colder air on the backside of that cold frontal system. And again, this can result right in this time period here, later Thursday into Thursday evening, for some strong to potentially severe thunderstorms along the I-95 corridor region, along coastal sections, and we'll focus in on that over the next couple of days or so. At this particular time, the surface cold front is right about in this region right here by Thursday evening. Again, moving off to the east, colder air flooding the Midwest and the Great Lakes on the heels of that frontal system, and that slides on to the East Coast by later Thursday night into the day on Friday. And here we go on Friday, kind of a repeat performance of the other day with some instability in the atmosphere, some lake effect type snows just downstream of Lake Erie, Lake Ontario setting up on Friday. Colder air aloft. We'll have to watch out for the possibility of another snow shower, perhaps even snow squall type of day on Friday as colder air moves in. It won't be quite as dramatic as this current cold snap in the northeastern part of the nation, and hopefully not quite as active of a weather pattern on Friday either in terms of snow showers and snow squalls. But a lot of cold air around and a lot of severe weather around over the next few days. And stay tuned to arcfieldweather.com for updates later today and, of course, throughout the remainder of the week. That's it for now. I'm meteorologist Paul Dorey.